I have had my shed up for a while now, and the chickens we have like to come hang out in here and even lay eggs in random spots. So it is about time to build some simple yet effective doors before winter comes. I picked up all the materials from Menards, but any lumber store will have these. I got 2 sheets of 3/8 LP Smart Side, or what's commonly known as T111 siding. These come pre-primed, so that's an added bonus. This is a widely used exterior for sheds, doors, chicken coops, among other things. I already had 6 2x4s laying around from when I built our chicken coop, but I did pick up 4 more just to be sure that I had enough. These are just regular construction framing lumber, pretty much the cheapest there is. In the end, I used 6 2x4s in total. I also grabbed 6 hinges, 3 for each door, a slide bolt style latch for locking the door, and I had some 1.5" screws left over as well from the chicken coop that I used to attach the Smart Side to the 2x4s. I'll leave a link in the description to all the hardware as well as all the tools that I used in building these doors. First things first, I measured the opening to get the dimensions of the door. I use vinyl siding on my shed, so I have to put up 2x6s on the sides so that I have something to mount the hinges to. If you use the T111 for the exterior of your shed, you can mount it directly to your wall frame. Once I got the dimensions of the opening, I subtracted the 1.5" on each side of the door to make up for the 2x6s that I had to add. I took the width and divided it by 2, as well as subtracted 1/4 inch to get my door width, and for the height of the door I took the measurement and took a 1/2 inch off to give me a 1/4 inch gap on the top and the bottom of the doors. My doors came out to be 71.5 inches wide and 76.5 inches tall. But of course, your doors will be a different size depending on your opening. Now that I got my door sizes, and I double checked the numbers, I could get started by cutting the T111 to the exact measurements that I came up for the width and the height of the door. I recommend using at least a 40 tooth blade to get a nice cut since this will all get painted. I find that unless you have a track saw, a good old-fashioned chalk line is always a go-to for making quick cuts that don't need to be of cabinet level of precision. Once I got both panels cut for the doors, I started on the framing. I cut 4 2x4s to the total height of the doors, 2 for each door. I laid them out on my garage floor and set the siding on top of them. After lining up the ends and the edges, I fastened them using 1.5" screws from the front every 8 to 10 inches. I'm not concerned with screws showing on the front since I am painting them, but you can line the edges with trim at the end to cover the screws if you feel like it would bother you to see them. But I'm not concerned with it, it's just a shed after all. Once all the 4 vertical 2x4s are attached, I flipped it over to measure the horizontal boards that finish off the frame of the door. Mine all turned out to be roughly 28.5 inches, and I trimmed for a snug fit. I aimed to cut all these so that they are a tight fit so that I could tap them in and they would stay in place when I flipped it over. The middle one simply gets put directly in the middle of the door. Once they are flipped over, you can attach them with the same screws again every 8 to 10 inches. And that's all there is to building them. I threw on 2 coats of exterior white paint, and even though these came primed, it still took 2 coats to get good coverage. While the paint was drying, I measured and cut the treated 2x6s that would be my door jambs. I fastened these with 3-inch screws. By the time I got the 2x6s in, the paint was pretty much dry, and I had my son come and help me hang the doors. I used shims to set the doors on to get the desired height. My son held the door while I got it into position and mounted the first hinge while trying to keep the hinges square so the doors will swing freely. Before mounting the second hinge, we leveled the door the best we could, which all depends on the construction of the door as well as the squareness of the opening. Once we got the second hinge on, we tested the door to make sure it swung freely and mounted the third hinge in the middle. It was a simple rinse and repeat for the second door. The lock that I used mounts on the bottom of the door, and you can drill a hole in the shed floor and the rod slides down into the hole, locking it in place. I will be adding another lock at the top of that door before winter comes to make it even more secure. Both of these locks will get mounted to the same door, and the other door gets a tab that overlocks, locking the door, pinning them both shut. These doors are a simple project anyone can tackle in an afternoon on a weekend. I ended up having about $150 into these doors, and they will keep the snow and the chickens out of the shed. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found some value today, and I'll catch you in the next video.